right, great. So, welcome to our podcast where we delve into the world of education. I'm your host, Dr. Lusant, and joining me today is my co host.
Deidre Barker.
She's also a dedicated professional working in the Department of Education. We have different roles within the Department of Education, but our shared passion for education brings us together today.
And we also share a passion for broadcasting.
That is right. That's right. Today we have an incredibly significant subject to discuss children's mental health. It's a topic that deserves our attention and understanding, as you know, it plays a very crucial role in shaping our young generation today. What do you think, Deidre?
One of the things, our children are most important. That's the reason why we started this, journey years ago, getting into education and hoping we could show them the path and the way. So I think it is important that we talk about mental health as
Yes.
it relates to our children and our
Yes.
next generation.
Absolutely. Children's mental health is an area that has gained increasing recognition, right? In recent years, especially after COVID, there's a discussion for helping children very early on to recognize that they have been impacted by what the world is facing. And I think that's a good thing. Do you believe that we have been successful, though, in addressing mental health after the pandemic?
When we talk about success in addressing it, I think we've been most successful in identifying that there's a need. Years ago, we would probably ask our students to just, be strong and move forward and push through. But I think there's been a recognition after the pandemic that our students and just the public, people in general, are struggling a little bit, and we
Yes.
need to pay more attention to the mental health overall, and especially our children, who are going to be our next generation.
I agree with you, and I think I've noticed the same because there's such a focus on it nowadays that um, there's no more stigma attached to it, and kids feel comfortable, right, having that dialogue. They are now aware that there are coping strategies around to use, right, to help them deal with day to day feelings and thoughts that they may be having.
In the classroom, we're primarily our children's second teacher, if you will. The first teacher are the parents. So when we take that role on at 8 a.m. in the morning, we are going to be with them for the next 6 hours. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable, they're in their right frame of mind, and they're able to handle the task. And as you said, they have those coping skills and strategies to help move them through.
Right. And I know also what I've noticed is that because we are focusing so much on the discussion about it and making them aware of mental health, now children are able to label what they're feeling, right? They didn't have the words to describe their emotions. And I think because there's so much of focus, it's a good thing now. They could explain.
I think to some extent also they were told not to talk about this at school.
Right.
This is not what we want to discuss. This is not something you want to tell your teacher. But now, being that it's that we're diving into, or we're trying to connect emotionally with our kids more than we have before, it is important that they share this with us while they're there with us for the 6 hours that they're there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's been so much discussion, we say in the schools, but on a broad spectrum, what's been happening is that the White House and other entities are getting involved to support mental health services and making sure that there are programs out there that can help our young people. And we're going to talk a little bit about that to see how it look on the local level.
Okay.
So I have a study here from the Journal of Pediatrics. It's dated back in September of 2023. And it stated that the rates of anxiety and depression among school-aged children and teens in the U.S. are at an all-time high. Recognizing this, the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and Children's Hospital Association issued in 2021 a joint statement to the Biden administration that child and adolescent mental health be declared a national emergency. And so now that we know, we are all on the same page, right? We know that this is a national emergency. How are you noticing? Are you noticing at all? Is there a difference in services and programs to address that?
I think when we talk about the services and programs in schools, there is a difference. There's a more of a need, an urgency to not only just look at the academics of the child, but the well-being. Resources are being shared and provided to families and students. You have even food pantries are more available, clothing supports, just the things that they would need, because I think all of that, when a child is walking into a school building, impacts what type of day they're going to have, how they're going to move forward with their day. So I think making sure that they have all the tools, not just your notebooks and your pens and pencils, but making sure that they have the things that they need to feel good about themselves as they walk into that door is important as well.
Oh, that's exactly what I would hope that they would do, right? To make sure that they are bringing in these services and giving the schools more power or authority to decide how the services should be fleshed out to, how it should look like in the school. It's good to know that all of these aspects are taken in consideration, not just their mental well-being, but also what are the things that could make kids feel comfortable, like to make them feel good about themselves, right? Because all those things matter. Making sure you have the right clothing to come to school, the food, making sure that they go home to a place where there are people who care about them. That's all part of it. So that's great to know that this is happening. Are you noticing that students and their families are taking part in these programs? Are they, are showing up?
Yeah, I think the families are taking part. I think that's an area in which we could focus on getting more publicity for the programs and things that are happening, the noticings of things that are right there in their community. I don't think that it's starting, but I don't think we're at a point where they're able to tap into those resources. They're not sure what to do. Often you have families and parents calling, can you help me with whatever the need is? And when they find out that these resources exist right in their community, most times, they're surprised, and they're local. They can walk to where they have to go to. They don't have to worry about getting in a car and driving, several miles to get to, some place. It's local in their community, and they get to meet other people when they're there, and they get to network, which is also good.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's great that, that it's almost like they have to cater to the basic needs of the parents first, right? Before
Absolutely.
they can discuss mental health, because that's probably the last thing somebody wants to hear when they can't feed their children or they don't have a safe place to go to.
Absolutely.
Now, are they also providing like information in terms of literature, stuff that can parents, because I know you especially in that particular community I'm thinking of, there's a diverse need, right? There's parents who speak different languages sometimes. And when we're talking about mental health, we need to be able to communicate that to them in a place where they could accept it and understand it.
They have provided, many resources, or there are many resources available in multiple languages, even in our very own schools. Everything that we present to families, I can tell you, comes, is produced in maybe 20 languages.
Wow.
What I also see is some of the, the state exams that students may be taking. Each year, they're adding on a different language. So when we talk about making sure that students have access no matter what language they have, I think that there's been some great strides in that area.
That's wonderful. And I think that's when you get parents to buy into the importance of mental health and we may see a next generation that, although we say they are aware now, but become so comfortable that they are able to help each other, right?
They always say the first step is acknowledging that there's a problem.
Absolutely.
Right? And once you do that, then I think you're well on your way to getting support for whatever it is that you need. So that acknowledgement and that awareness, I think, is a huge first step.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the funding has to be there. And we did talk about there's a lot of programs that you mentioned that are taking place in the schools. Something that I came across that was released from the White House last year of May 2023, the Department of Education has awarded over $280 million through a bipartisan Safer Communities Aid to increase the number of mental health professionals in schools and expand school-based mental health services. What does that look like in your school? Like, do you find that they are bringing more professionals in who are trained to work with children?
Absolutely. In many school buildings, the teachers are always outnumber the other staff members as far as their job title. But in recent years, a school of 1,000 or so students would have maybe one guidance counselor. Now that's increased to maybe 3 or 4 guidance counselors. They're taking a special interest in speaking to each student individually. Normally, you would see your guidance counselor if you had an issue. You would go and there would be an issue. Or if you came into a school building, you were part of the school community, they would know that perhaps you may be struggling a little bit. So they put you in their schedule. But now the guidance counselors in schools are speaking with each and every student, regardless of, if they're reaching out to them. So I think that's good. It goes back to that awareness again. The students are aware that, hey, I have someone here who I can talk to, and they reached out to me. So I think that is a key. And I think including those staff members and increasing the numbers of those staff members in schools is going to help and support this initiative.
And that's wonderful because you're right. I think that's always been an issue in the past where if this child didn't specifically get that on their individual educational plan, they weren't it wasn't a priority for the other students, right?
Right.
So that's great that they recognize that, okay, every child at some point needs to have someone they can go to that's a professional in that area. And it's great that our teachers, they know that children's emotional needs are important, but to have someone outside of that, that's all that they do, that's all that they focus on, is very important. And it's great to know that they're making an effort to address that area.
Yes, I do see great strides in that area of getting those additional staff members on board and, highlighting and focusing on every student in the building.
Now, do they consider also outside, like psychologists, people that are affordable, because that's the thing, because, yeah, it's great. They have it in school. Sometimes kids need more than that, right? If there's any way that they help those families who think that I need this after the 7 or 8 hours in school, right? I need to know there's someone in my community that I can go to. How are those resources?
The schools normally partner with the local facilities to help with that. And what I find is that prior to setting up the family and or child with the needed help in the facility, what would happen is there's a conversation about the insurance. What type of insurance do you have? And they actually connect the type of insurance to the family. This way, they're not going to into an institution or going to get services, only to find out that they're not able to get those services because they don't take the certain insurance, or the family doesn't have insurance at all. And we know that that's a huge issue also.
Right.
So there are agencies that not only provide the service, but they also help and support in getting insurance if needed to get those services. So I think that's happening in schools also. They're making sure that the families have the access, but also anything else that comes before that so that they can get those services.
Well, that's wonderful. It's certainly is very difficult when you don't have insurance in this country to seek help when you really need it. The other thing that I often wonder, because I remember there was a time when children would exhibit behavior issues, the first thing would be suspension, right? We'd think of a way to get them out of the environment. Are you noticing a difference in that in terms of how they deal with that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. When a child possibly may lash out or there's a behavior issue, we're asking teachers or educators, we're just taking a step back. What's going on? Maybe pull that child aside and say, listen, is there anything you want to talk about? Did you have an opportunity to eat breakfast this morning?
Right.
Did something happen before you left home? How was your walk to school today? All of those things impact how students may behave.
Right.
And they're not sure what to do with that.
Right.
That energy or that negativity that they may have experienced prior to coming into the school building. So we're taking a step back. We're using, an additional lens to look a little deeper to say, listen, the student may be acting out, but what else is going on?
Right.
It's important to see that. And I think in doing that, we're able to identify some issues that can be addressed.
Right.
And, the next day and the day after will be much better because we were able to take care of what the situation was. And a lot of energy has been put into making sure that, we're finding out what happened before the behavior.
Right. And that's important. I can see how that could decrease conduct issues that schools often face because. Yes, as we said before, a lot of times when children are acting out, there's something else going on, right? Because sometimes children are not so willingly to share stuff with their parents, which would make sense. They feel that their parents perhaps may not understand, or maybe that's where the issue is occurring. And to know that they have another place that they can go to. And I've read studies in that if the kid must have, children in general should have at least one person that they feel they can speak to when they are feeling anything, anxiety, afraid of being in school because of a bully. Having that person, knowing that there's someone that they can turn to.
And also helping parents recognize that it's okay if it's not you. Because as parents, we feel like, well, how come my child didn't tell me about this? I didn't have a clue about it. But you know what? It's okay if the child can reach out to someone else.
Absolutely.
It's a safe space in our schools.
Right.
So if the child has someone other that they can reach out to, helping parents to understand that that's okay. It doesn't make you any less of a parent if that's
Right.
happening, if that's something you're experiencing, your child is reaching out to someone else.
And how is that conveyed to the children too? That's an interesting conversation. And when does it occur?
You find that some children. There used to be a TV show. Children say the darndest things, and they do. They tell you things. You're most often taken off guard, but children tell you anything and everything. So. We want to make sure that environment is open and it's safe, that they can do that.
Right.
Some of the things they say to you will make you laugh. Other
Right.
things will make you tear up and cry.
Right,
But
right.
the fact that they have that space
Right.
and the students know, listen, if you want to talk to me inside of the classroom with others around, or if you'd like to come up at lunchtime. Teachers are
Right.
making time during their schedule, which is very busy,
Right.
but they're making time during the schedules to make sure the kids know that I am here for you.
Right.
So I think that the kids know that they can do that. Now, getting them to take that on, that's something other. Or getting them to do that as often as we'd like, that's something you have to cultivate and build. But
Right.
the teachers are, and just the whole school community, they are saying, listen, I am here for you.
Right.
I want to help you with whatever it is that you need to do, in addition to that math or problem or that ELA story or
Right.
composition that you're writing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's about building that trust, right? You can say it to children, but at some point, they're very smart. They know who they feel the most comfortable with,
Absolutely.
that they can go to. And that's what's important, that knowing there's one adult, there's someone that that's available, that you can go relay what pain or trouble or difficulty you're having. And I guess when those little things that kids find, for them, it's big. It's big. For us, we're thinking, oh, it's not that bad. Things are going to be better, right? But having someone there that you can go to, that is always available to you, is a good thing, because not
Yes.
every kid have that.
That's right. That's
Right.
right. Yes.
And it's great that that's being addressed very early on, and that's established with children. So this is one of many topics that we will be discussing. I'm hoping that the next time we could delve into social media and how that affects, right?
Oh, yes.
Mental health.
Yes, absolutely. Lasting effects, social media. So, yeah, that's definitely a hot topic, if you will.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's good. That definitely will be something that we'll delve into the next time. This has been wonderful discussion today. It's our first episode, and we hope that we can inform the community as we go along. And this was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this was fun. Thank you
Yes,
for
you're
being here.
welcome.